So if Amazon is making this bid, according to the Times, how many bids does that make it at this point, Caroline?
Well, if you were going to ask President Trump, he'd say 5. He's previously said on Air Force One that there are 4 bidders thus far, groups of bidders. This would be a 5th. It's interesting, New York Times reporting that this came in the form of a letter to Vice President Vance, who we understand is sort of leading the charge here in the negotiations, plus also Commerce Secretary Lutnick. And what's interesting in the New York Times piece is they say Amazon's bid, various parties involved in the talks do not appear to be taking it seriously. Now, we don't know why they wouldn't be taking it seriously. Maybe it's a price point that they reference, but ultimately there are some serious bids out there. We just had one of them come on the show. Frank McCourt Jr. has been in there from the start. He doesn't want the Chinese algorithm. He wants just TikTok, the user base, and wants to develop an entirely new underlying decentralized model. He's in with a bid with Alexis Ohanian. Jesse Tinsley is another person, another entrepreneur who's joined our show, saying he'd be interested in it. And he's got the CEO of Roblox, he's told us at least, interested in that bid as well. Then there's, of course, what's currently being negotiated on Capitol Hill right here, right now. We understand that today President Trump will take a meeting around a potential deal with Blackstone in the mix. We understand with Oracle leading the charge in terms of an investment in US-based TikTok, but also it would provide the security, the infrastructure that it still does. There's even Andreessen Horowitz being reported by Reuters as being involved in that bid. It is a fluid situation, but it seems as though President Trump and Vice President Vance are looking at this from a more diplomatic situation. What does it mean for the future relationship with China? How can they get China to agree to give over the asset? And many say that's without the algorithm. So that's what this Oracle offer would be.
So do we have any idea what the sweetener would be, what a winning bid might put forward in order to actually gain the asset?
Well, it's the right price point. Now, we had Frank McCourt Jr. say he's offering $20 billion, but he doesn't want the underlying algorithm. But there's been price points all the way up to $150 billion for this asset, if it did include the algorithm. So price is going to be one. But ultimately, this is about getting ByteDance's founder on board, Chinese government on board, but also Congress on board. This, from a bipartisan nature, has been agreed on by the House and by the Senate and by Congress more broadly, that they do not want TikTok to operate in the United States as it stands with a Chinese algorithm. Can a deal formulated with Oracle in some way taking a small chunk of the overall ownership, other investors who are already in the deal, for example, there might still be General Atlantic, which is involved and backing ByteDance, so too is Susquehanna. If they stay involved, would that really satiate the law? Because if you still have the Chinese algorithm, is there still a risk of US data? That is the key question, I think.
Seems if we wait long enough, there will even be more bidders, right? Is there a deadline, Caroline?
Yes.
A hard and fast deadline?
Maybe not hard, maybe not fast. In theory, April the 5th. This is why it's such a last-minute offer coming from Amazon, because it was until Saturday. But we've just had Frank McCourt Jr. say he thinks it's going to be pushed back. It'd be very extreme to see that a deal would suddenly come up to the wire like this. And President Trump himself has said he might just push it back, kick the can a little bit further. He's done it once, remember it was January the 19th, but push back to April the 5th. It could move again, but certainly it's coming under fire right now. We seem to be getting closer.
Yeah, and as we know, it's an extraordinarily busy week, so
yes.
perhaps...
It's not as though they have anything else to do.
Exactly. Is there any consideration of Chinese input here and Chinese, opinions on the matter?
Very much so. And I think this is why you've certainly heard from President Trump and the idea that this can be some sort of trade negotiating tactic. He's saying maybe if we do a deal on TikTok, we'll be able to reduce tariffs on China. This has become a geopolitical football. It always was. But remember, we've also had President Trump himself say how much he likes the social media offering. He felt that in many ways it helped him with his own campaign and energized the voter base. And he had Shou Chew, the CEO of TikTok, at his own inauguration. So this has become very much political, as well as, of course, what's happening in terms of the actual asset.
Well, as an immediate reaction, shareholders don't seem to be displeased. The stock is up 1.25%, bouncing there off flat. Caroline Hyde, thank you so much. Caroline is anchor of Bloomberg Technology.